Welcome, everyone. We're going to start off this practice with some gentle movement, blood flowing, build a little strength and conditioning, get some deep stretching in, and then we're going to move to a wall. And at the wall, we're going to do a little bit more deep stretching, and then we'll add a couple more restorative type positions. I mentioned evidently on Monday, I'd forgotten, but Dan reminded me, we are going to end with waterfall pose. And that's actually the subject I'm going to bring up for today's practice, because I told you guys on Monday last week I wasn't here because I had taken a road trip with my son. We had gone to a concert up in Buffalo, and we were also going to check out Niagara Falls while we were there. And so that was one of the places on his bucket list that he wanted to see in the United States. And I wanted to gift him that before he graduated and left the house, and also kind of, just remind him your dreams can come true. Sometimes you need to verbalize what it is that you want, and you can help to manifest it. So trying to teach him those little lessons through this. But when we went to Niagara Falls, it is a powerful and one of the largest waterfalls I've ever been to. It's a natural wonder of the world. There's a Canadian side and there's also an American side. And I think there's 3 falls total. But I don't know if you know how they were created. There were a couple glaciers that were melting that formed the big Great Lakes. And as the water was rushing, it formed a river. And as the river started to flow, it eventually went off this steep cliff. And that's what created the Niagara Falls. They have drained it once. They drained it once and found 2 bodies. And there's been about 5,000 deaths at the falls since the, beginning or mid 1800s to 2011. Most of them, unfortunately, by suicide. Most of them on the Canadian side. So when we were going to Niagara Falls, I was having my son, look up some information. That's why I know this right now. So he continued to look up some information, and he was like, it's illegal to go over the falls, but people have gone over the falls. And he was telling me that in 1901, there was a school teacher who had just become widowed. She had lost her husband, and, school teachers today don't make a lot of money. Imagine in 1901. And she wanted a quick claim to fame. And she was looking for some quick money. So she decided at 63 years old, she lied to the press and told them she was in her 40s. They found out by doing more research, she was 20 years older than what she was saying. She put herself into a padded barrel, a pickle barrel about 5 feet. I think it was 5 by 2 or 5 by 3. And went off the falls and survived. And she got a really quick claim to fame with that. She didn't get any money like she was hoping to. And there were 15 other people that decided they wanted to try the same stunt. 10 of them survived, 5 of them perished. There was a kayaker who decided he was going to try it, perished. And there was someone on a jet ski who thought they would try it, they perished. There was a family out boating. I think this was the Canadian side, but it may have been the American side. And they had a boating accident, and it knocked an adult and a 7-year-old child off into the river, and the water swept them across the falls. The 7-year-old survived because he was wearing a life jacket, and the adult perished. So anyway, don't mess with the Niagara Falls. It's a powerful force. But what I want to mention about the falls, and we're going to end with waterfall pose, is water is a very forceful element. And it's one of the main elements that we talk about in nature. Water is considered to be cleansing and healing. And I felt like that's kind of the way our trip went last week, because this trip was designed all for my son. And the day before we were going on the trip, I was doing a little bit more research around Erie, Pennsylvania, because that's where we decided to stay our first night. Only to realize that there was a 9/11 memorial in Erie, Pennsylvania. Now, I was a flight attendant when 9/11 happened. And I've been to New York several times since 9/11, and I have honestly refused to go to ground zero because I just don't think I could stomach it. I don't think I could handle the emotions of it. For the first 10 years after 9/11 happened, I purposely flew because I knew a lot of crew members were trying to take off and didn't want to fly on the anniversary. They didn't want to be reminded. I chose to fly because when I flew, I wasn't as inundated in the media or the news. So to me, it was actually better for me to fly and forget about it versus being at home and being inundated with the paper or the news or whatever to be reminded of it. I decided while we were in Erie, I was like, okay, I haven't been to ground zero, but I did warn my son before we left. I was like, there may be some healing involved in this trip for me that I didn't think about when we were planning it. And sure enough, we get to the hotel, we have a few hours to kill, and we're at the lake, but some of the things were closed that we wanted to do. And so I researched while we were having dinner, only to discover that memorial was within a block away. And I said, okay, we're gonna go to this memorial. And I went to the memorial, and it was so powerful. Even though it was small, it was very small. It was right outside their local library. But they had a big piece in the middle that came from the Twin Towers. And of course, they had a panel of photographs and the story and the timeline of how everything happened. And they had the memorial that they created. And I just bawled and got to tell Gabriel some of my story of what happened that particular day, because I had not really told him much prior to that. And so it was like a watershed moment in Erie, and here we are going to Buffalo, and I hadn't thought about that either. And I'm like, Buffalo was where I was when September 11th happened. Buffalo was where I got stuck because air travel stopped, and I was just stuck at a hotel watching CNN 24/7 during that time frame. So to me, not only going to Buffalo, but ending it at the Niagara Falls and seeing all that water, I felt like, okay, let this be healing. Let my tears flow and let the water carry away this old stress and this old emotional distress that I've packed on and I've been carrying around. So when we go into waterfall today, I want you to consider maybe what are the things from your past that you have held on to, or maybe had been deposited into the body, and maybe you've been carrying with you that you want to release, and let the visualization of that just wash it out today. So with that being said, we're going to start in child's pose. If child's pose is not good for your knees, please don't do it. I'll give you this alternative instead. So if you need to be in classic crocodile, you can start here. And if child's pose is okay for your knees, ankles, and hips, then be here. So I realized on that trip, part of what was creating the healing for me is being reminded of the series that we did a while back on the glaciers and finding the root cause of our suffering. And what I didn't realize until that moment was aversions, trying to deter away from something, trying to run from something, is also a root cause of suffering. So that memorial, I was able to face it and sit with it and cry with it. So maybe ponder for a moment, if you have any aversions, anything that you're specifically staying away from because you think you may get triggered. And maybe facing it can provide healing. Same thing with attachments. If you're attached to it somehow, the attachment could be creating that pull and that suffering. So maybe it's time to cut the cord. So just take a moment to be contemplative within.
And then begin some mindful breath work. Control the breath in a way where the breath is starting to stretch out, grow longer and smoother. Some days you may find that the in-breath or the out-breath is easier, but try to improve both. And eventually come to the point where you feel as though you're creating more of an even measured type of breath. And maybe sensing, for instance, you're breathing into about the count of 5 or 6 on the inhale and making that pretty equivalent on the exhale. Now, if you're in crocodile pose, you're going to place your hands under your shoulders and you're going to push up to all fours. If you're in child's pose, if your arms are wrapped around you, you're going to stretch the arms out in front of you so that you can rock up to tabletop position. Once we meet in tabletop position, I want you to inhale, move into cow, where you're creating that bow in the back, sinking the belly, and lifting the chin. And as you exhale, draw in through the belly and bow the head so you're tucking the chin. And do that just a few more rounds. Inhaling to cow. And exhaling to cat. Couple more. By the way, they've been coming in and out of that back door, into that back room. So just know that there's going to be some activity this morning. Now come to a, not necessarily a neutral back, but in tabletop position where you're really rooting your hands and you're pressing down to the top portions of the feet so that you feel your belly hug in and engage. We want that core support because we're going to move into seabird pose. Your left leg is going to stretch out behind you and your right arm is going to reach in front of you. Remember the foundation for your right shin, for your left hand. Remember the infrastructure, which is the core work. Concentrate your eyes for better focus. And then affirming, I am strong and stable. I am strong and stable. Lower back down, and we'll take the right leg back, flexing that ankle. Pressing through the left shin, right hand to ascend the left arm out and up. So sometimes this is called seabird, sometimes it's referred to as spinal balance. Affirming mentally within, I am strong and stable. Exhale, lower back to table. All right, we're going to flip the right hand open and stretch it towards the corner of the mat. And we're going to gaze at the hand as we slide the hips towards the heels. We're going to circle that right arm up and over. And as we exhale, we're going to slide it back. And you're just going to continue this process, rocking the torso back and forth, hasta drishti, gazing towards the hand, and feeling as though you're like a swimmer, stroking this right arm, creating some beautiful range of motion
with this side. Last one. Once you return to table, flip your left palm, send it down the lane of your mat, slide it back as you sit towards your heels, and then inhale, forward stroke. Exhale, take it back. So turning your head is almost like you're swimming and you're turning to breathe in the air when you're coming up out of the water. And last one. Landing in tabletop position. All right, for those of you that can't be in child's pose, you can flip to your back and do banana asana, like a crescent moon on your back. Those of you that can sit back in child's pose, you're gonna be here, and you're gonna walk the hands over to the right side, onto the coolness of the wood floor, and then you're gonna bow back over and down. Now, as you're bowing down, don't worry if your head touches the floor or not. It's okay to hover. If you're doing Chandrasana on your back, make sure you're opening up the left side body. And those of you that have been with me for a number of years, if you remember alternate lung breathing, I would incorporate it into any side stretch pose. Hopefully, one of these days we can revisit that, but it requires partners. So if you don't know it, just breathe diaphragmatically instead. So on your next inhale, let's gently lift up. We'll bring it over to the other side. So if you're on your back, just curve the other direction. If you're in child's pose, walk the hands to the left and accentuate that stretch in your right side body. Improve the quality of your breath. Affirming here, strength and courage fill up my body cells. Strength and courage fill up my body cells. On your next in breath, gently lift your head and heart, walk your hands back to the sticky mat. You're gonna shift to hands and knees. And those of you on your back, I'll give you time to join us. Your hands are gonna go slightly beyond your shoulders actually, and you're gonna curl your toes and then lift off to downward facing dog. Now from downward facing dog, be here really pressing into your hands, but go ahead and start to bring movement into your legs and feet. So maybe just walking it out, pedaling the feet up and down, or bending one knee and then the other. And now let's go ahead and travel the feet forward to the top of the mat. When the feet come to the front, bury them down, hinge over from your hips. Allowing your arms to relax and your neck to relax. Affirming as you hold, nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back. On your next in breath, let's root the feet. Let's sweep the arms to the sides and up overhead. Coming to the top by locking the legs, lifting the fingertips, and then flipping your hands and pushing up through the heel of your hands. Good, exhale, we're gonna come back down. This time, find your blocks. And you may not want to use blocks, but if you want to use them, you can. We're going to step the right foot back. And when we step that right foot way back, stack the blocks alongside the ankle where the hands are also aligned underneath the shoulders. Good, once you're here, turn and plant your back foot down, stack the elbow on top of your thigh bone,
And then carry that right arm straight up towards the sky. Now really glue down your back foot, especially that outer edge, and feel the action that occurs when you do that. Roll open through the barrel of the chest. Side angle. Good, as you exhale, bring the right hand down, spin off the back heel, springboard that back foot forward, and immediately step your left foot back into this lunge. Front knee lining up over the ankle. Now turn and position your back foot firmly to the ground, stack your right elbow on your right thigh bone, and you carry the left arm up towards the head. Taking this variation of side angle, affirming I am a boundless fountain of energy and strength. I am a boundless fountain of energy and strength. Now, as you exhale, we're going to bring the hands back down to the blocks. We're going to spin off the back heel. All right, from here, lose the left block, plant your left palm or fist, and then carry that right arm skyward and revolve here, turning the belly towards that front thigh and lining up your right hip and kind of tucking it in towards your center. Good, exhale, bring the right hand down as well as the back knee, and that's where you can add that padding if you need it. Now the left elbow is going to cross over to the right knee. The hands are going to position together to prayer, and we're going to fly the navel up over the right thigh, so you're kind of lifting up and spinning the heart towards your hands. Staying in this twist. Good, now exhale, unwind. When you unwind from that, bring your hands down alongside the foot, so move that right block out of the way, and just sink down through the pelvic floor and through your back line. All right, when you're ready, find your blocks again. Flip the toes up, stay on the right heel, stretch out through the right leg, taking half splits or half Hanumanasana. You can stay higher, or you can bend the arms and drop lower. Just because you can doesn't always mean that you should. So use that layer of discernment in the mind, continuously checking in with the breath. Good, now roll back down to the sole of the right foot. Walk the blocks back beside it, curl the back toes, lift up that back knee. When you're ready, springboard the back foot forward, and then separate that right foot away and step back. Now we get to do that same sequence on this other side. So lose the right block, position that hand down, and spin to your left. Good, exhale, bring the left hand down, lose that block, sink the back knee to the floor, and we're gonna come up, right elbow to that front knee, hands glued together, we're still twisting and winding to the left. Maybe taking it a little bit deeper than you could in that earlier pose. And then exhale, unwind.
Bring the hands down. Drop through the pelvic floor and just kind of melt into the shape. Opening up that iliopsoas muscle. When you're ready, bring the blocks in. Turn the left toes up. Straighten out your left leg. Hanging out here in half split. And affirming here as you hold, I choose to dwell within infinite possibilities. Choose to dwell within infinite possibilities. Right, roll back down to the sole of the foot, lose the blocks. Solidify your hands, curl the back toes, and you're stepping to plank. From plank, we're gonna rock forward with the feet. We're gonna lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana, and we're coming down to the belly, and we're lifting and lengthening each leg. Now keep the feet glued to the floor, keep the knee plucking up away from the mat, and your buttocks really firm. Now position your hands flat down beside your thighs. And then inhale, slowly lift head, shoulders, and chest, and breathe. Breathe into that diaphragm muscle that you're resting on. Two more. Now we're gonna take a fist, but hide the thumbs away. Come down to the brow. And the fists are gonna stack on either side of the pubic bone and that soft area of the hip crease. When you're ready, keep the face down and start to float your legs and feet up. Like a half locust. Two more breaths. And release. Once you dip the feet down, lift your hips up to remove your hands. Slide your hands up underneath the shoulders and push up to table. From table, curl the toes, launch into downward facing dog. Slim that space between the big toes, not completely, but just a few inches. Head bows between the arms. So that calmness can begin to radiate throughout every cell and fiber of our being. And exhale, gently come back down to the knees. All right, untuck the toes. All right. So we talked about the daredevils with the barrel. We're going to pretend we're in a barrel. So this exercise it's not really cat-cow, but it's freestyle movement. You guys already know what I mean here. So you're basically just kind of circling around with your trunk as if you were rolling around in a barrel. And then whatever direction you were going, swap it. Move in the opposite direction. Feels good to do that, doesn't it? Feels so free. Curl the toes, relaunch to downward facing dog. We'll close out this flow. And we'll move to a wall next. So go ahead and begin to walk and travel the feet forward to the top of the mat. Coming back to your Uttanasana.
Maybe flipping your hands open if they have access to the ground. Nodding your head, loosening your neck. Root the feet and sweep the arms to your sides and up. And exhale, bring hands down to third position at the heart.
Okay, so this is where we're going to switch gears. Just please realize if you're close to my mat, you will be in the frame of the computer. So if you don't mind it, I don't mind it. I like having company up here. If you don't want to be in the frame, I understand, you can scatter. Now, before we do too much, I want you to have your bolster on one side that's closest to the wall. That'll make sense when we get to it. And then we're going to stay standing for a moment at the wall. So sorry, you guys at home, I'm going to have to come right back to you. But the first thing I want you to do is stand at a distance from the wall, where it would be the distance between your wrist and your toes and tabletop. So you're in tabletop a lot, you're always looking at that distance. Basically create that here. The wall would be where your hands would be, okay? And once you have your feet stacked, your hands are gonna go higher than your shoulders. And you may have to play around with it. But then we're gonna send the hips back and we're gonna sink down into the shoulders. So really what we're doing is very similar to what we do from tabletop when we're coming into Anahatasana, right? The hips stay over the knees. And that's what we're doing here when we keep that distance from the wall and we're pushing our sit bones back. We're keeping the leg bones aligned. What's happening to your lower back? Your low back should be sagged. Yeah, you just sag. So this is more of a yin type stretch. So we're trying to work into the SI joints. We're trying to work into the shoulder joints. Unless it hurts, right? And if it hurts, then you can draw the belly in and pull back away from the shoulders by lifting the armpits up. All right, last breath. And then slowly as you lift your head and heart, walk your feet towards the wall. So it's just a few inches away from the wall. Slide your hands now in front of your shoulders and roll the elbow to face down towards your outer ankles. You feel that work in your upper body? This is like doing chaturanga against the wall. Shoulders dropping away from the ears. The sternum lifting. Good. Now relax your elbows, relax your arms. Good. Turn your right hand so it's facing outward. Slide it. And then turn your feet the opposite direction. That's it there. Now your left hand just kind of hang down beside your body. And you don't want to be pushed right up against the wall. So if you can, back the face away, back the shoulder away, and the hip away. Breathe into that connected tissue. Don't do this when you're taking a shower. This is what I highly suggest in the shower. Now, slide your right hand closer. Turn back to face the wall. Hands right in front of the chest and shoulders. Elbows squeezing down alongside your body. Taking chaturanga against the wall. Now relax your shoulders and arms. Turn your left hand out and then slide the hand down the wall. And then rotate your feet in the opposite direction. And the right arm can be free. Try not to lean to the wall, gently come away from the wall. Off your jaw, that's a place for tension to build. Then let the hand slide down. Relax that shoulder. Okay. So now we're gonna come down to the floor. And let me show you really quickly what we're gonna do. Once we come down, we're gonna go here like half butterfly. We'll go here, half butterfly. And then we're gonna separate the feet and slide down and work into the hips. If we have time, we'll go back into Vaparita Karani. But this is waterfall, so I want you to see how to get into it. Your feet will bend, you will tuck and lift. You have to lift pretty high in order to get that bolster under your back so that your sits bones can hang off. Okay, so that's what we'll do at the end. So if you're in that side fetal position on the edge of your mat, you roll to your back and send the legs up. Okay, before we go into the hip work, push up through the soles of the feet. Spread the toes wide. And then push a little higher with the mound of the big toe. Feel that inner quad engage. Now relax your feet. Slide the right foot down and then turn open from the hip. Now your hands can be resting on the belly or away from the body. Then I would suggest closing the eyes. Now, as you relax, you may discover that right foot may start slipping or sliding down the wall. You do not have to correct anything. It's just moving towards gravity. The process of letting go. All right, we're going to turn that right knee back towards us. Glide the right foot up. Slide your left foot down. And then turn open from the hip. Don't think that the foot needs to touch the inner thigh. You're just rolling to the outer edge of the left foot. Because the left hip is turned out, you're going to feel more weighted on the left side of your low back. So again, no need to correct anything. You're in it.
Now let's bring the right foot down to join the left, so that we're doing this bound ankle against the wall. So notice how that evens up the weight distribution in the low back. You may feel vibration stemming from the surface of the wall or the floor. You may sense an inner vibration as you release tension from any muscles. Remember, this is really good for our reproductive organs, our urinary tract, our bladder. And this area that we're working into with the hips correlates back to that element of water. It looks like we all have the space around us. If you want to take a quick straddle where the legs split off and straighten out. It's nice to do it against the wall because it's, even though the sensation can be pretty intense, you're still supported. Feels more doable than say if you were holding it solo away from the wall. We're not going to stay here much longer. See if you can stay for at least 3 to 5 more breaths. And now take your hands kind of under your knees or behind your thighs and just help your legs not come all the way back together, but bending the knees and sliding the feet a bit closer so that you're landing in stirrup or tree frog pose, where the feet are flat to the wall, the knees are bent and fanned away from one another. If you have a challenge with happy baby pose, the one where we typically hold the feet with the hands on our backs, this is a great pose to do at home to prepare you and to prepare your body to become more comfortable with that pose, to open more to that pose. Again, notice the sensation where you're really getting the deep stretch, but at the same time, feeling supported. Supported by the earth, supported by the wall, supported by your breath, supported in this environment. All right, now we're going to slide the feet closer together, okay? And that will give the hips a little bit of a break, but we're about to give them a big break. So find your bolster if you want to do the full waterfall. If you don't think waterfall will work well for your back and maybe legs at the wall is good for your back, you can just stay here. But to move into waterfall, the knees are bent so that you can push into the feet to tuck and lift the buttocks away from the floor, to slide the bolster under your back, and eventually sitting on it and sending the feet back up the wall. And so you guys are probably more used to doing waterfall with the block under the sacrum. But this is the first way I ever learned to do this pose. I'm going to change the music because we're going to be here for hopefully 10 minutes, the remainder of our time together. I'm going to give you a visualization. So in this moment, whether you're in lights at the wall or the actual waterfall pose, please imagine that your feet are like the steep cliff in which the water is rolling. The waterfall is forming. Now, you don't have to picture Niagara Falls. You can picture a different falls. Maybe one from here in Middle Tennessee. Maybe another that you have visited in another country or state. But like most waterfalls, there is a colorful prism of light, usually revealing itself very similar to a rainbow on a rainy day. And you notice within the rainbow is all the colors that represent the chakras. And here's a really cool tidbit of information. I know a couple people who are able to see things that the majority of us can't see. And they've been telling me that the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of light raining down upon the earth. And they've been saying that this light, it's holding like little rainbows. And it's not really the arched rainbows, like the way we see them in the sky, but it's holding the rainbow colors. I want you to imagine this liquid light coming down on the planet. It's also hitting your waterfall, mixing in the water. And it's providing a great cleansing and healing to all of your chakras. The red at the base, the orange at the pelvis, the yellow at the core, the green at the heart, the blue at the throat, the indigo at the brow, purple at the crown. And I want you to consider anything that has created suffering, anything that has been deposited in your body, whether it's stress or emotional distress, is being healed. Patching everything up. Washing away any worry, washing away any tension, fatigue, or illness away. Let it flow down and flood through your being,
entering through the feet and flushing out through the crown of your head. And then affirming mentally within, new peace, new consciousness is flooding through my being. New peace, new consciousness is flooding through my being. Few more deep breaths. Slide down the wall.
push into the wall and tuck and lift away from the bolster, slide it out from below. So continue to roll down safely to the sacrum. And you can roll to your sides. Just take a seat. Now, if you wanted to bring this bolster back in, sit on it. Good. I usually say sit forward. You can sit forward without back support, but you can also sit back and have the back support. It's not too cold to you. Sitting upright. You were on your back earlier. And I was having you picture that light with all those colorful prisms raining down on the planet. Imagine it's coming down over your crown now. Filtering through your chakra system. Crown, drop it down to the third eye point. Throat, chest, belly, pelvis, pelvic floor, let it seep all the way down into your legs and feet. Just as the sun can sparkle the surface of the water, picture yourself sparkling from the inside. Let it move up to the surface of your body. Infused with this liquid light. Joining your hands together. The light within me honors and bows to the beautiful light within each of you. Namaste. Thank you all for coming together. And joining online as well.